Hello, you guys. It is Stephanie from Unveiling the Spirit, and today I want to unveil the spirit about the pandemic. I laugh a little bit because it's a little bit funny, but I laugh because I've heard so many people saying that this is a punishment from God and God is angry. And I can't even think of all the things that I've heard in relation to this pandemic when it comes to God's involvement. And so, once again, I just kind of wanted to unveil the spirit or the underlying issues and principles and things behind some of these thoughts and ideas or, whatever. The first thing I can, I should have done this video a while ago. The pandemic is probably going to be over with very soon because we have vaccines going out and things like that. I was really busy and I didn't get around to it, but I feel like it's still relevant because we are still in it. And even though it might be over, just the kind of thought process behind some of these things is good to get a handle on or get a perspective on. And because all of these things can be used and applied to other, issues and things like that. So just to be a flat out clear that no, God did not cause the pandemic. God is not angry. He's not punishing people. And I feel sorry for people who have that kind of perception of God. I mean, I know he did do that in the Old Testament, but the thing is that everything God does has a purpose, and which is what to me spirituality is the reason behind things. Everything God does has a purpose. There's a reason. And if there's no reason, he doesn't really do it just to do it. And so, back in the Old Testament days, there was a reason that he did those things, especially when it came to Pharaoh and, freeing the Israelites from the Pharaoh. But since Jesus died, his way of doing things has changed. I know they say God doesn't change, and he doesn't, but the reason behind him doing things can change within the parameters of how he already is. So it's not like he necessarily changed, but he can change his mind and do things differently. As you can see in the Bible, I believe in the last book of the Bible, it says, "Behold, I do a new thing." God can do new things. So yeah, he's not causing the pandemic. And when people say things like this, I know for number one, they don't understand that since Jesus's death on the cross, God's judgment is delayed. God's judgment is delayed until we die. He is not angry about people sinning. In his mind, it is taken care of. It's nothing to necessarily be, he's in a state of like mercy. And we're in a phase of mercy. Since Jesus died, it's almost like we're in a season of mercy, and he is giving people time to get it right. And so his anger, his judgment for all of these things is delayed until we die. Right now, the motive or the agenda is to save as many souls as possible. So he's not going to send a plague or a pandemic because he's upset with people. If he was going to do that, I'm sure we would not be here anymore because we've done enough stuff for him to just totally obliterate us from the face of the earth like he did in Noah's day. But that's a different video. And so his judgment is delayed until we die. Another thing is when people say this, to me, it shows that they don't fully understand the power of free will. A lot of times people get upset because God does not intervene, and why does this bad stuff happen and why does that happen, without fully understanding and embracing the power that he has given us as human beings to decide our own fate. Like we have a pretty powerful gift. We can affect our lives. We can affect other people's lives. We can totally change other people's lives. We can make God look good. We can make God look bad. I mean, we have a lot of leeway and flexibility in what we decide to do with our choices, and he does not interfere with that. Again, I said in another video, there's some consequences that come along with having free will, but the fact that he created beings which he did not have to do and gave them the right to make their choices for themselves within the parameters of this world is a very, very huge privilege. And a lot of the things we do point to the fact that, and what we say about God sometimes point to the fact that we do not understand the power that he has given us within our free will. A lot of the things that we experience in life where people say that they are punishment from God and things like that, it's nothing more than the consequences of the choices that we made, because that is the power of choice. When you do things, you can shape realities. You can shape your own reality. And when you make certain choices, that is what happens. And so we have to really understand the power that we have been given and not expect God to give us such a great power, but then intervene every time we do something that he doesn't like. He doesn't operate that way. Again, I understand that those are consequences, but at the same time, I really respect God for being able to do that. And you get a really good feel for what that is like when you become a parent, because on the one hand, you feel like you know what's best for your child and you want to lead them the right way, but also you want to give them the dignity of making their own choices and discovering things for themselves without you micromanaging their lives. And God does the same thing on a much bigger scale. And I think that it takes a lot, even as a parent, to be able to see that and do that with your own child than for God to do it, who has all of this power, who can stop us from existing at the blink of an eye, but he gives us time to make choices for ourselves and to learn from our choices, good or bad. And so the pandemic is a reflection of humankind's choices, whether it's a China's choice, people that Wuhan, China, where it came from, or whatever factors affected those people for making those choices. Because there was some speculation that this came from the wet markets. And so the wet markets were created when there was famine in China and people could not, they didn't have enough food. And so they started eating everything, like anything that they could get their hands on to eat. They were eating everything, and it became a culture. And now this culture has evolved into these wet markets where sometimes disease and, diseased animals can spread their diseases. Those are choices that people made. Whether it's the choice of the government that didn't make sure people had enough food, or the choice of the people for depending on the government too much for their food, or the government for manipulating people into thinking that it's just so many ramifications in there, or so many variables in there, and it all boils down to choice. So somebody made some choices along the line somewhere that ended up resulting in this pandemic. And so it's not a matter of, God orchestrating all these things to happen so that a pandemic can come, or not even orchestrating anyway, just dropping a pandemic on the world and saying no, he allows us to choose for ourselves. And a lot of the things that we see in this life that we have such a problem with, God not intervening, it boils down to human choice. And so we need to take our choices seriously and understand the power of our choices. We need to understand the power of our choices, and can not only affect and shape our own lives, but our children's lives and complete strangers' lives, our families' lives. And so that is the power of choice. And it is a privilege, and it is a gift, and it's up to us what we choose to do with it. That goes hand in hand with not only the pandemic beginning, but the pandemic spreading. And so another thing that I want to point out is the fact that although God may not have created the pandemic, and it came from human choice and human error, he will use it. He uses everything. As a matter of fact, this world is basically a huge classroom to teach us things. And that teaching goes hand in hand with our free will. And so, he'll use a pandemic. He can use a teacher, he can use a family, he can use friends, he can use a TV show, he can use a ride in the car. In the Old Testament, he used a donkey. He will use anything that is within this world that he had, that gives him access to our conscious and subconscious mind, or our awareness, to teach us lessons. You know, sometimes I hear people say when they make mistakes, like, and they learn something from the mistake, they say, oh, well, that had to happen because I learned something from it and I needed to learn that thing. So this had to happen, as if God orchestrated this bad thing to happen to teach them a lesson. No, he doesn't do that. The bad thing that happened came from someone's choices, your choices or their choices, and he simply used those choices to bring about a good end. That's why the Bible talks about everything being turned around for our good, because he can take even things that were meant for bad, even your bad choices, and turn them into lessons and blessings for you, because he'll use everything. And so he can use this pandemic to teach you humility. He can use this pandemic to teach you to spend more time with your family. He can use this pandemic to teach you what's more important in life. So even though he may not have started it, he can use it. He will use it. He has used it, and he will continue to use anything that's within your circle or your life to teach you lessons. There have been times that I've been watching a commercial and I had got something out of the commercial from God that I know the people who made the commercial probably didn't have that in mind when they were making it. And so God is always teaching. He's always ready to show us deeper parts of ourselves, which in turn teaches us about who he is. And so again, if he didn't cause the pandemic or even a lot of the bad stuff that happens in this world, because he gave us free will, he can still use those things to reveal to us who he is, to get blessings out of it, to teach us lessons. And my alarm is going off again. So just 1 second. Okay. And so that is basically what I wanted to say about the pandemic. I hope you guys got something out of this. Once again, send me your questions, send me your comments, and you have a good day. All right. Thanks. Bye.